Alright, hello, welcome to part 15 of my Hello map creation tutorial. Before we jump back into 3ds Max, we're going to be starting a few test UVing exercises now, and for this exercise I've incorporated two TIFF images, which are essentially, some people like to call them pixel charts, but they just help to approximate the tension of your UVs. So you have one kind of blue checker map, bluish, and then you have a reddish one. These are just test textures in essence. For the final build of the map I will be using environment textures, but this is just quickly to get the mapping game with some sort of texture. If you use your own textures, your own test textures, then just remember that they need to be in a TIFF file format, TIFF image, and it's highly recommended that those images retain no compression whatsoever. Alright, so with that said, I'm just going to minimize that, and by the way, these files will all be available in the video description. I'll probably upload them as soon as I've finished this whole tutorial course. Alright, so jumping back to 3ds Max, let's go ahead and if we could start UVing, or we could start making the skybox. I think we'll do UVing first. So I'm going to select my level, and I'm going to hit the hammer, or the hammer icon, which brings us to utilities. With my level selected, I'm going to hit reset X-form, reset selected, and I'm going to uncheck that reset X-form and then convert this down to an editable poly again. Right, now to apply our textures, I'm going to hit M to bring up my material editor, and we're going to use a new slot, and I'm going to change this from a standard material to a multi-sub object, and that is going to allow us to discard the old material. It's going to allow us to apply multiple materials using just one slot instead of using every single slot. So I've only got two materials, so I'm just going to delete all but two sub slots. Then I'm going to select the first slot, select standard, and in the diffuse, just next to the diffuse slot I should say, there will be a little box. Hit that box, and then you're going to select bitmap, hit OK, and then go wherever you want to select your image bitmap. Now here are the images, but since we're going to be compiling this map, it's highly advisable that you set up a directory first. So to do that, before we apply any materials to our material editor, let's go into Windows Explorer. I'm going to grab those two images, copy them. I'm going to go into my Halo Customization root directory. I have a shortcut there. So that's your hard drive, program files, x86, Microsoft Games, Halo Customization. I'm going to go into Data, Levels, Test, and I'm going to create a new folder in this test folder, and I'm going to call it kickass_canyon. I'm going to create a new folder and call that folder bitmaps, and in that folder I'm going to paste those two images. Alright, now I'm just going to grab the address from the address bar, copy that, go into 3ds Max, select the bitmap image again. Oh, actually no, you can just hit the bitmap field here under bitmap parameters. Then I'm going to paste that address into the file name slot and hit enter. There we go. That takes us to that directory. Now I'm going to select the first one, checker map A. I'm going to grab the name, copy it, hit open. Then I'm going to select show shaded material in viewport, go to parent. Then I'm going to copy that name into the shader field, which is this part here. So I'm going to hit Control V, and that's very important that you do this because the name that we've set here will be the shader name of the image's shader name in Halo's engine. So once again, hit Show Shaded Material Map and Viewport, and go to Parent, and that should take you to where we started. So we'll create another one, hit None, choose Standard Material, right, hit the little box next to Diffuse, choose Bitmap, and if we scroll to the history, it should take us where we were just before. So we'll choose Checker Map B, copy the name, hit Open, hit Show Shaded Map and Viewport, go to Parent, paste that name in the shader name slot, Show Shaded Material and Viewport again, go to Parent, and there we are. Now before we do anything else, I'm going to select my level, maybe minimize my material editor, hit Control A, and I'm going to select all of my polygons and set the material ID to 1, and you can just right click on the spinner to do that. Right, now I'm going to deselect my mesh by hitting the Edit Polystack icon, and then I'm going to apply our material to our selection. And just to make sure that our object is selected, you can hit F4 or you can hit the J key, and that will bring these sort of selection corner icon thingies up. So if you don't have them selected, you won't see them. If you do have them selected, you will see them. Right, so assign material to selection, or you can drag and drop it over. And you should receive something like that. It doesn't matter if you don't though. What we're going to do, as long as the color changes basically, then that's fine. What we're going to do now is we're going to select all of our structures first of all. So I'm going to hit T, go to my top view, select that, make sure you don't have Ignore Backfacing turned on, because that's going to hinder us. And oops, missed a little portion there. Okay, and unfortunately it's going to be the same selecting kind of workflow as before, which is a little bit tiresome, I know, but once you get used to it, it becomes more or less like a reflex. So same thing as before, drag a rough selection over our structure, then refine your selection by alt-clicking out all the polygons which you don't need selected. We just want the structure, not the landscape. Time to grab those aerial platforms. And missed out a few things, so okay. Oop, got the other side to go. do that. Remember, it's Alt click to exclude from your selection and Control click to add to your selection. Okay, now with that done, I'm going to hit Control I, and that will select everything else in our scene, in our mesh, which we do not have currently selected. And I'm going to set all of those polygons to material ID of 2. So now there should be some texture variation between our organic and inorganic surfaces. And if you wanted, I mean, it's not something that I would recommend, but you could kind of, these sort of mini steps here, you could go ahead and select those and set them to a material ID of 1 again, and you'd get something like like that. I mean, it doesn't look so bad, I guess. In fact, I may end up doing that myself. Like so. And I'll only do it for this portion. I'll leave you to do the rest. It's not something that is really compulsory for me to show you. It's pretty standard, pretty basic. Alright, I'll leave it like that. Alright, now that we've done that, just like we were able to, select surfaces based on our smoothing groups, we can do the same for our materials. So if you go into, if we input a value of 1 into our select material ID field, we can now select all our surfaces with a material ID of 1 applied to them, like so, which is very handy. So now that we have those selected, to make sure that there aren't any crazy UVs around in our modifiers list, actually it's probably best to just hit the plus sign first of all on the top left hand side of your viewport, go into configure viewports, and in the visual style and appearance tab, uncheck shade selected faces and check display selected with edged faces instead. Hit apply to active view, and well, actually that's pretty annoying as well, so perhaps get rid of them altogether. Then you don't really know what you have selected unless you're in edged faces mode, but yeah. Alright, now in the modifiers list, you're going to scroll down until you find UVW map. And this is a very quick way of adding UVs, albeit really messy UVs, but we're taking this step because sometimes in the modeling stage we can inadvertently create erroneous UVs which will halt our BSP compiling process. It's a rare occurrence, but I'm not really going to take any chances. So we're going to choose a box mapping method, and I'm going to set all of these fields to a value of something like 350. I'm copying that value and paste it in like so. And just kind of do it until these boxes, the checker map is really small. So we could bring that even lower to maybe like 100. Kind of copy that value, tab down, paste that in. Oops, that hasn't worked. so that's a bit better. And once we've done that, then you can convert this back down to an editable poly, and you can see really where using our checker map texture comes into play. It helps us view any distorted areas, which we'll fix later by using a different UV mapping method. But for now, since our main focus is just making sure that we're getting all of the obvious errors out of our compilation or our proposed compilation process, let's go back into polygon mode by hitting 4, scroll down to our polygon material IDs rollout, and set the select ID value to 2, hit select ID, and if we hit F4 then that will have selected all of our faces with the red material applied. I'm going to go into our modifiers list, type in UV, select UVW map, same thing as before, choose box, set the value to 100, copy that value, paste that in the length, width and height fields, and then convert down to an editable poly again. And now we have something like this. Okay, and I actually think it's a pretty good idea to, set all of these mini cliff faces to a different material ID. I'm going to go to configure viewport and enable shade selected faces and apply to active view again. And basically just doing the same thing as we did over there. And this is just really for viewing purposes in game is all, because it might be a little bit strenuous on the eyes to view one solid texture of nearly everything. Right, and just really set that back down to material ID of 1. And there we go. Since we've already UV'd this, the color should just change and that should be it. Alright, so that's where I'll leave you with this tutorial. Before we do anything, I should have saved at the start. I'll do it now. So say this as 15. And I am going to, off camera, go ahead and do the same thing that I just did there. Giving a little bit of texture variation to these little portions, these little steps and cliffs. It's nothing that I feel would take away from the learning process or hinder your learning ability in any way. I'm not leaving you half-assed with, something. We've done this before, so I'm going to save now and I'll be back in part 16.